The night was quiet in the small town of Elmsworth. Ethan, a young soldier, walked back from his night patrol, his boots crunching softly on the gravel road. He stopped outside the local clinic where Lily, a kind nurse, was finishing her shift. She smiled at him, tired but warm, and waved. They were not close friends, but everyone in the town knew each other. Before Ethan could reply, a strange light appeared in the sky. It wasn't a star, or a plane, or anything he had seen before. It moved fast, low, and silent, like a shadow made of light. Then everything went black. Ethan's eyes opened slowly. His body felt numb, and the air was thick and cold. He was lying on a smooth surface that glowed softly. The ceiling above him was curved, metallic, and alive with dim lights. He sat up, breathing fast, heart pounding. Where was he? This wasn't Earth across the room. Lily also woke up. She gasped, trying to understand. The two looked at each other, confused, afraid, and shocked. The room had no doors, no windows. Just smooth walls and a strange humming sound. Suddenly, the wall in front of them melted away, revealing figures entering the chamber. They were tall, beautiful, and clearly not human. Their skin shimmered with silver blue tones, and their long hair flowed like silk in water. But their eyes held pain, not power. One of them stepped forward and spoke. But it wasn't a language Ethan or Lily knew. Then the figure placed her hand on her chest and said in broken English, "Help, please." Ethan stepped forward, confused but alert. "Who are you? Where are we?" he asked. The alien woman looked sad, then turned and gestured for them to follow. They walked through shining halls that pulsed with energy. Lily noticed carvings on the walls, images of children, families, and fire. They were being shown something. They were taken into a large room filled with soft lights and cushions. Many other alien women stood there, along with a few small alien children. The children looked sick, thin, pale, and weak. One girl coughed hard and fell over. Lily rushed to her, her nursing instincts stronger than her fear. She lifted the child and whispered gently. Even though they didn't share words, the child smiled faintly, her eyes full of silent thanks. The Queen of the Aliens arrived, wearing a robe of glowing patterns. She sat on a high seat and spoke calmly. A translator device beside her began to speak in human language. "We are the Solari, and we are dying," the voice said. "Our people once lived strong and proud, but sickness took our men, and now our children fade." Ethan looked around, trying to understand. "You brought us here." "Why?" he asked. The Queen's face grew serious. "We scanned many worlds. Only human biology offers hope," she said. "You are not prisoners, but you are needed." Lily sat beside the weak child and asked, "What do you want from us?" The Queen stood and replied, "Life, healing, and future." She pointed toward a large sculpture in the center of the room to figures. One alien, one human, holding a glowing infant. "Our oldest stories spoke of unity with your kind." The Queen continued, "Now that story must be real, or we perish." Ethan and Lily looked at each other, the weight of the truth settling in. This wasn't an invasion. It was a last cry for survival. But the question remained, how far would these aliens go to get what they wanted? Would they ask, or would they force it? The door behind them closed softly. They were alone on a ship full of desperate strangers. The stars outside the window looked the same, but their world had changed forever. Somewhere deep in the ship, machines hummed, and unknown plans were already in motion. The vanishing night had only just begun. The next morning came without sunlight. There was no sun, no wind, no familiar sky. Ethan and Lily were inside a new chamber now, quiet and warm. Soft lights glowed from the walls, and gentle music played in the background. The walls shimmered, like moving water, changing colors with each sound. But there was no door to leave. Lily looked around, uneasy. The room had a peaceful feeling, but she knew it was not home. She touched the wall smooth, cold, and pulsing softly like a heartbeat. She saw trays of fruit and drinks near the corner, but she didn't touch them. Ethan stood by the window, staring at the stars. He didn't speak, but his eyes showed. Worry and anger. The wall opened suddenly. 3 alien women entered, tall, elegant, and glowing. They wore thin robes and carried strange devices. One of them walked to Ethan and handed him something. It looked like a glowing scroll, but it projected a floating image above. A soft female voice echoed from the scroll. "This is your role, human male," it said. Images of human DNA appeared, blending with alien DNA. Then a child, glowing and healthy, appeared on the screen. "Compatible, strong, fertile," the voice said again. Ethan's jaw clenched. He looked at the alien woman in disbelief. "You want me to breed?" he said slowly. The woman didn't answer with words. She simply nodded and took a step closer, her hand reaching out. Lily stood up, blocking the woman's path. "He's not a tool," Lily said, her voice sharp. She didn't care if they understood her completely or not. The emotion was clear, and the aliens paused. The queen appeared again, this time without her royal robes. She looked tired, her shoulders heavy. "We do not wish to hurt," she said through the translator device. "We wish to survive." She stepped closer and raised her hand, showing them a small child. The child had gray eyes, sunken cheeks, and barely moved. "This is the last daughter of our main line," the queen whispered. "She has no strength to speak. Number brothers to protect her, no hope to grow." Ethan and Lily both felt something shift in their hearts. This wasn't just about biology, it was about death. Slow, quiet, and hopeless death. One of the alien women stepped forward again. She knelt in front of Ethan and looked up at him. With wide silver eyes, her lips trembled, and she placed her hand on her chest. "If you accept, I will carry your seed with honor," she said softly. Her voice was broken, like someone offering her last dream. Ethan backed away slowly, shaking his head. "I'm not doing anything unless I agree to it myself," he said. "And this isn't." The way the woman looked confused, but she did not move. She only bowed her head, ashamed. Lily turned and saw 2 little alien girls watching from behind a curtain. Their eyes sparkled when they saw her. One of them ran up to Lily and placed a small flower in her hand. "Mother?" the girl asked in a hopeful voice. Lily froze, her eyes wide, heart pounding. The queen walked over slowly and knelt beside the children. "They already feel your warmth," she said to Lily. "They dream of a world where someone holds them, feeds them, sings to them." The translator device couldn't capture the queen's tears, but the pain was real. Lily's hands shook. She wasn't a mother. She didn't even know if she wanted to be. But the child's tiny fingers wrapped around hers like they belonged together. And something inside her broke open. Ethan looked at her, and she looked back at him. This was more than survival now. They were not prisoners in chains, but they were still trapped by guilt, by emotion, by the silent cries of a dying race. "Please," the queen whispered, "let us try." Together, the wall behind them lit up again. More alien women entered, not with force, but with offerings, clothes, food, gifts made by hand. They placed them gently at Ethan and Lily's feet, then stepped back. "We are not your masters," the queen said. "We are begging for hope." Ethan looked down at the items, delicate, beautiful, made with care. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath. "We will help," he said finally, but on one condition. The queen raised her head, listening closely. "No force, no pressure," Ethan said. "You ask. We choose." The queen placed her hand on her heart. "Agreed," she said, and that was the first time hope returned to her face. Ethan sat alone in a quiet corner of the alien ship. The walls were dim and calm, glowing like soft moonlight. His mind was full of questions. They had not been hurt, not locked up, not forced. But the pressure was still heavy. He could feel eyes watching him, hoping, expecting, needing. He looked down at the strange robe he now wore. It had been offered as a gift, soft and beautiful, but it made him feel like a prize. Not a person. He clenched his fists, unsure what to feel. Lily, on the other side of the ship, sat with a group of alien children. She had started checking them one by one, listening to their breathing, touching their foreheads, giving clean water. They laughed softly. Some even called her Moma. Her heart was torn in two. She wanted to help, truly. But part of her wondered why had it come to this? Later that day, the Queen called them to the Crystal Hall. The ceiling was high and filled with hanging lights like stars. In the center, a small pod was brought forward. Inside was a tiny alien baby, weak and barely breathing. Her skin was too pale, and her eyes could not open. "This is Sarai," the Queen said, her voice shaking. "She is the last born in our central city." Lily rushed forward and placed her hands on the baby's tiny chest. She listened, felt the faint heartbeat, and said quickly, "She's dying of infection. Her lungs are weak." The alien women watched in silence as Lily gave orders. "Warm water, a soft cloth. Honey, if you have something like it." They moved fast, bringing everything she needed. Using simple care, Lily helped clear the baby's airways and kept her chest warm. After a long hour, the baby let out a tiny cry. It was weak, but it was real. Tears filled the Queen's eyes. "This is the first sound she has made in 5 days," she whispered. The others bowed to Lily in deep respect. "You carry more than life," one alien said. "You carry healing, Ethan." Stood beside her, proud but still unsure, he turned to the Queen and asked, "Why are we the only humans here?" The Queen's face became serious. "There were others," she said, "but they could not help. Their bodies were not the match we needed." Lily stepped forward. "Are we the last chance?" she asked. The Queen nodded. "We did not mean to take without asking," she said. But the choice was time or extinction. Just then, loud footsteps echoed in the hall. A group of alien warriors entered, armored and cold. One of them glared at the Queen. "You risk our traditions for these humans?" she said sharply. "They are not sacred. They are weak." The Queen raised her hand calmly. "They are our only path forward," she said. But the warrior shook her head. "We should take what we need, not beg for it." Ethan stepped forward, eyes hard. "You think we'll help if you threaten us?" he asked. "I'd die before letting anyone use me like a lab animal." The room fell silent. One of the younger alien women from the crowd ran toward him. She dropped to her knees, tears in her eyes. "I do not want this," she cried. "I want to love, not obey." Lily knelt beside her and took her hand. "You deserve choice too," she said gently. The crowd slowly began to murmur in agreement. The old ways were crumbling. That night, Ethan sat with the kind alien girl named Riala. She had helped him earlier, guiding him to clean chambers and quiet places. She spoke softly. "My sister died from the same sickness that little Sarai has," she said. "I wished for someone like you then." Ethan looked at her, truly looked, not as a stranger or threat, but as someone carrying sorrow. And he finally spoke. "If we help, it has to be real, not forced, not cold." Riala nodded. "I would never ask for less." In the center of the ship, the Queen wrote a new decree. From that moment on, no human would be used, only invited, and any alien who wished to join would do so by heart, not command. The old warrior who resisted stood silently in the shadows. But even she knew something had changed, not just in the laws, but in the hearts of the people. Ethan and Lily didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time since the vanishing night, they felt like they had a voice, and that voice was being heard. A quiet wind blew through the great crystal hall. Even though no windows were open, the ship had a way of breathing, lights pulsing gently, air humming like a heartbeat. Ethan stood near the high table. Dressed in new robes made by the alien tailors, he did not care for the design, but he wore it out of respect. Beside him stood Lily, strong but quiet, her eyes watching the crowd. Alien leaders, healers, and warriors all waited for the Queen to speak. The Queen stood, her voice clear and steady. "Our past ways were built on pain," she said. "Our future must be built on consent." A soft wave of sound moved through the room. It was not applause, but approval, quiet, thoughtful, unsure. Ethan stepped forward when the Queen looked at him. "I don't want to be treated like a savior," he said. "I just want to help, but only in the right way." He turned to the alien crowd, his voice growing stronger. "If you want a future with humans, it must be built with truth and freedom." Lily held up a small child wrapped in soft blankets. It was the baby Sarai, still weak, but growing stronger every day. "She is proof that healing comes from care, not from control," Lily said. "I will teach your healers everything I can, but we will not be used like machines." One alien healer, an older woman with glowing blue eyes, stepped forward. "We understand now," she said. "Will you teach us your ways, human nurse?" Lily smiled gently and nodded. "Yes, but not just our ways together. We'll build new ones." A few alien warriors in the crowd looked angry. They had grown under the old order, strong, proud, and unbending. One of them stepped out, her voice hard. "Your kindness makes us weak," she said to the Queen. "We should take what we need before we disappear." Before the Queen could answer, another voice rose from the back. It was Riala, the young alien woman who had spoken to Ethan the night before. "We are already disappearing," she said, her voice shaking, and the old ways didn't stop that. She looked at Ethan, her eyes full of quiet fire. "Let us try something different." The Queen raised her hand, calling for silence. Then she turned to Ethan and Lily. "You have given us a light," she said. "Let us now protect it together." In the days that followed, new routines began. Ethan taught young alien guards how to build shelter, purify water, and plant seeds. He told them about Earth's survival after war, how people had rebuilt from ashes. They listened closely, asking questions, writing notes. They did not want to just survive. They wanted to. Live Lily moved into the healing wing of the ship. She trained alien nurses how to use herbs, how to treat wounds gently. She showed them how to boil tools, how to test pulses, how to read eyes. One alien child said, "You make pain afraid." And Lily smiled softly. At night, Ethan and Lily sat together by the glowing fountain in the center of the garden dome. They talked about Earth, about family, about what came next. "Do you think they'll ever stop looking at us like miracles?" Ethan asked. Lily chuckled. "Maybe not," she replied. "But we're not here to be miracles. We're here to be human." One evening, the Queen invited them both to a private chamber. There were no guards, no throne, just cushions and warm lights. She bowed deeply, then looked at them with open eyes. "We are creating a new agreement," she said, "a law of respect, of freedom, and of peace." Ethan nodded slowly. "That's what we wanted from the start," he said, "but not everyone agrees with this new path," the Queen added. "There are whispers of rebellion, of the old order rising again." Lily leaned forward. "Then we stop it with kindness and strength," she said. "Not with war." The Queen smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "You may have to lead more than healing and training," she said. "You may have to lead hearts." Ethan looked at Lily, and Lily looked at him. They both knew this was no longer a mission. This was becoming a life, one they never asked for. but one they could not walk away from, back in the main hall. A statue was being carved half human, half alien, hands joined, the base read in both languages. Together we rise. Some still doubted, some still feared, but a seed of trust had been planted. And from that seed, a new world was beginning to grow. The night inside the starship was dark and still, but something dangerous moved in the shadows. Ethan was asleep in his room. The lights dimmed to a soft blue glow. He dreamed of Earth, of wind and grass, until a sharp sound made his eyes snap. Open, 3 alien warriors stood over him, faces cold, armor shining. "Come with us," one said. Her voice flat and sharp. He tried to resist, but one jabbed a needle into his neck. Everything spun, and the world went black. Lily woke up too. Silence, which felt wrong. She checked the hallway, empty, too quiet. Something was wrong, and she could feel it in her chest. She ran to Ethan's room. But the door was open and he was gone. Panic filled her lungs. She called for help. But only one alien answered Riella. Riella's eyes were wide with fear. "They took him," she said. "The old order has taken control of the lower decks." Lily clenched her fists. "We need to get him back," she said. Riella nodded. "There's a secret path," she whispered. "I'll take you, but we must hurry. Far below the main levels." Ethan awoke in a place called the Chamber of Legacy. It was an old part of the ship, full of carvings and glowing red lights. He was chained to a cold platform. Surrounded by old statues and strange tools, an elder warrior stood before him, her expression harsh and proud. "We will save our people the old way," she said. "You were chosen to create new life, not lead us with soft words." Ethan's jaw clenched. "You can't force a future," he said. She didn't respond, just turned and ordered the others to prepare the joining ceremony back on the upper deck. Lily moved through dark tunnels with Riella and 3 loyal healers. They carried small blades and old plasma lights. Their feet were silent, but their hearts beat loud. Lily had never led soldiers, but now she was ready to fight. They reached the lower deck, gate sealed and guarded. Riella whispered, "There's another way in through the crystal tunnels." They moved quickly, crawling through narrow shafts and glowing paths. At the end, they found a hatch, and Lily pushed it open quietly. Inside, they saw Ethan, chained and pale. The elder warrior raised a blade toward him, but Lily stepped into the light and shouted. "Stop," she said. "If you harm him, your people will lose all hope." The warriors turned, surprised. Riella threw a flash orb, and the room filled with blinding light. Lily rushed forward, cutting Ethan's chains with a plasma tool. He fell into her arms, weak but awake. The elder warrior. Lunge, blade raised, but Ethan blocked her strike with a broken chain. "You want strength," he shouted. "This is strength protecting life, not forcing it." The other warriors hesitated. Some lowered their weapons, others dropped them completely. The fight ended not with blood, but with choice. The queen arrived minutes later with her guards. She looked at the scene, bruised, Lily out of breath, the elder warrior on her knees. "Your time is over," the queen said to the old leader. "You fight for the past, but the future walks with them." The warrior bowed, her head in silence, and for the first time, she had no words. Back in the healing chamber, Ethan rested while Lily cleaned his wounds. "I thought I lost you," she said softly. He smiled weakly. "You didn't. I knew you'd come." The alien people gathered in the central dome. The queen stood before them, holding a crystal scroll. "This night marks the end of the old order," she announced. "From this day forward, no being shall be taken without consent." The crowd cheered. Some cried. Children hugged Lily, while others offered Ethan garlands of glowing vines. He smiled, a little embarrassed, but thankful. Later that night, Ethan and Lily stood under the stars in the garden dome. He looked at the sky and whispered, "They tried to break me, but you put me back together." She smiled and held his hand. "We're not just helping them anymore," she said. "We're part of them now, and somewhere deep in the ship." Life stirred again. The lights pulsed softer, the air warmer. The ship itself seemed to relax because its people had found something stronger than survival. They had found hope. Asterisk soft light filled the healing chamber. Alien children lay resting in smooth beds, their tiny chests rising and falling with peace. Lily moved from one bed to the next, checking pulses, wiping foreheads. Her hands were steady, her touch gentle. Beside her, alien nurses copied her every movement, learning faster each day. One nurse whispered, "Your methods are strange, but they work." Lily smiled. "Love is the best medicine," she said. A young healer brought her a glowing tablet. Showing medical readings, Lily studied it, then nodded. "This child is recovering," she said. "She just needs warmth and clean air." Across the ship, Ethan stood in a large room that had once been used for training warriors. Now it had become a place of rebuilding. He showed alien guards how to plant small seeds in soil bags. "This is how we grow food without machines," he said. "You care for the seed, and it feeds you back." A strong alien woman named Veltra watched closely. "You teach like a soldier, but think like a farmer," she said. Ethan laughed. "Sometimes war teaches you peace," he replied. Together, they built rows of hanging gardens under artificial sunlight. It was the first time plants had grown on this ship in many years. The Queen watched all of it silently from her private chamber. She spoke to her advisors, her voice calm and thoughtful. "Look at what the humans have done in a few weeks," she said. "Not with power, but with care." One advisor asked, "Do we owe them everything now?" The Queen shook her head. "No," she said. "We do not owe them servitude. We owe them respect." Back in the medical wing, Lily gave small crystal bracelets to the children. "These help you remember your name, your strength," she told them. The bracelets glowed softly as the children smiled. Riala, now working beside her, whispered, "You've changed our children's future." Lily looked at her and said, "No, we changed it together." Later that day, Ethan walked through the garden dome, where the new plants had begun to sprout. He sat by a small stream and watched. Two alien girls chased glowing butterflies. He saw joy, not survival, not duty, but play. It made his chest feel warm. Riala joined him quietly, carrying a bundle. Inside the cloth bundle was a newborn half-alien, half-human. She was the child of one of the volunteers who had chosen to bond with a human years ago during a failed Earth mission. But now, that child had lived, and lived strong. Riala handed her to Ethan and said, "She is proof that your kind and mine can share more than space. We can share life." Ethan held the baby gently, feeling the small heartbeat. "She's heavier than she looks," he said, smiling. "She's carrying the hope of two worlds," Riala replied. They sat in silence, the baby cooing softly in his arms in another chamber. The Queen spoke to Lily privately. "I have seen our people laugh again." The Queen said, "It's been so long, I had forgotten how beautiful that sound is." Lily nodded. "Laughter is healing too," she said, "but there is still much work." The Queen led Lily to a sealed room no outsider had entered before. Inside were glass tubes filled with ancient scrolls, records of their lost culture. "This is what we used to be," the Queen whispered, "before we became desperate." Lily walked slowly through the room, reading with the translator device. "These are full of poems, songs, and dreams," she said. "They must not be forgotten." The Queen handed her a tablet and said, "I want you to help us rebuild not only our bodies, but our soul that night." A festival was held in the central dome. It was the first in decades. Lights danced across the ceiling, and music echoed through the chambers. Alien and human children wore woven crowns made of plant leaves. Ethan helped build a fire pit, while Lily served drinks made from new fruits. Everyone cheered when the Queen stood to speak. She raised her hand and said, "This is not a celebration of survival. This is a celebration of change." She turned to Ethan and Lily. "You gave us more than medicine or strength," she said. "You gave us the courage to hope." Lily stepped forward, holding a small plant pot. Inside was a tiny flower with glowing petals. She placed it on the table in front of the Queen. "This is a gift from Earth," she said. "It only grows when there's peace." The Queen bowed deeply, and for the first time in many years, the crowd sang not a song of war, but a song of thanks. In the background, the alien baby slept in Ethan's arms. Lily watched them, her eyes full of quiet joy. She knew they were no longer guests, they were becoming something more. Not rulers, not saviors, just family. Ethan stood at the viewing window of the starship. The blue planet below sparkled with clouds and oceans. It was Earth, home, the place where he was born. But now, as he looked at it, he didn't feel the same as before. Something inside him had changed. Beside him, Lily stared in silence, her heart torn. They had both received a message from Earth's command. A human rescue ship was approaching. They were being offered a full return in ores, comfort, and safety, but it didn't feel like a rescue anymore. The Queen met them in the gathering hall. Her robes soft and glowing, she did not try to stop them. "You are free," she said gently. "You have given us more than we deserved." Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "I don't feel like a hero," he said. The Queen smiled. "Heroes are not perfect," she replied. "They simply do what others are afraid to." Riala arrived, holding the half-human baby in her arms. The child had grown fast, her skin glowing faintly, eyes wide and bright. "She will never forget you," Riala said to Ethan. "Because you saved the world she will grow up in." Lily bent down and kissed the child's forehead, then looked at the alien nurses who now walked with pride. They had built healing rooms, gardens, and safe shelters. The ship had become alive again, but could they leave all of this behind? That night, Ethan walked through the quiet garden dome. He sat under a glowing tree and closed his eyes. Footsteps echoed nearby, and Riala sat beside him. "You miss your home," she said. Ethan nodded. "But this place, it grew on me." He said, "Maybe because you watered it," she whispered, smiling. She leaned closer. "I want to ask something," she said softly. "If you stay, I would like you to raise this child with me." Ethan's breath caught in his chest. He looked at her, searching her face. "You mean like, as a family?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "Chosen, not forced, elsewhere." Lily sat with the Queen in the song chamber. They listened to recordings of old alien melodies now restored. "These were almost lost forever," the Queen said, "but you helped us remember who we are." Lily's hands trembled slightly as she stared at the silver necklace the Queen had given her. It was a symbol of honor, but also a symbol of belonging. "I never felt this needed on Earth," she said. "Here. I'm not just a Nurseem, a builder of futures." The next morning, the Earth ship arrived in orbit. Its lights flashed, and its voice echoed through the communication room. "Ethan Blake and Lily Morrow prepare for transport." The message repeated twice, then silence. Ethan stood holding a small bag, his Earth ID still inside. Lily held her badge, staring at it like it belonged to someone else. The Queen came forward and gave them one last offer. "You may leave now," she said. "But if you choose to stay, you will not be guests. You will be family." Riala stood nearby, not speaking, just waiting. The baby slept in her arms. Small fingers curled around the edge of a glowing blanket. Ethan turned to Lily. "We could go back to everything we knew," he said. "Or we could build something new here." Lily looked around at the alien healers she had trained, at the little children who now ran and played, at the young mothers who now smiled with hope. Then she smiled. "I think Earth has enough heroes," she said. "This planet needs us more." Ethan walked back to Riala and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I'll stay," he whispered. "Not because I have to, but because I want to." Riala's eyes filled with quiet tears. "I will not disappoint you," she said. "You never have," he replied. They sent a message to the Earth ship. "Thank you," it said. "But our mission continues elsewhere." The ship left quietly, vanishing into the stars. And the alien vessel returned to its slow orbit around a healing world. Years passed, the gardens grew taller, the children stronger, the air filled with songs from both human and alien voices. Ethan trained new guardians, both male and female. Human and alien, Lily became the high healer of the new cities they built on land. The queen stepped down peacefully, naming a council of both species to lead together. On a warm day, Ethan stood with his daughter. She was no longer a baby. She was a bright, curious girl who spoke both languages and dreamed of the stars. She looked up at him and asked, "Dad, where are you from?" He smiled and said, "From a world that taught me how to fight. But this one taught me how to love." And as the sun rose over green hills that once held only metal and dust, a new future began, not born from fear, but from choice, from hope, from family.